Hello and welcome. Happy Sunday, everyone. A little bit of a bonus stream, so let's buckle up and get ready. Welcome to Denver, Colorado. Welcome aboard Delta Flight 1185 nonstop service, Denver, Colorado to Salt Lake City. And I'm just noticing here, oh boy, I may not have had any music going this whole time. Somehow that desktop audio button got turned off, so apologize for that. But as sometimes happens when you have those bonus streams, you end up not getting everything exactly the way you want to get it. But I decided to do this today, actually a little bit earlier today, because I found something different going on Monday night, which is when I was originally going to plan on this flight, this nostalgia flight. Let me show you kind of what we have in the works here, if I can. So this is the very first flight that I filed and actually flew on the VATSIM network. And I don't recall if I had air traffic control or not, but I went back and did a little bit of research, and I found this. And the first couple of flights, actually officially my first flight was here as India Hotel Kilo Sierra November, a duration of 12 minutes. I did actually file something earlier that day, November 737 Whiskey, but didn't fly at all. And so this is really the first flight that I attempted, Denver to Salt Lake City. I've flown that route 5 times. I assume that's what that 5 means. And as you can see, I didn't make it. I flew for 35 minutes. And that was it. But that was the beginning of really a fantastic, association with VATSIM. And so that's what we're here to get a little nostalgic, to talk a little bit about this flight and moving forward, what I'm most looking forward to. This, as you can see, a pretty straightforward flight here from Denver up into Salt Lake City. It's we're going to have just a little over an hour, I think, in terms of flight time. And so I know this is 5 hours and 41 minutes, but that's because I don't have my speed in there. And so, yeah, about an hour and a half or so. And let's go ahead and get things started up. So part of, I guess, this flight is I'm going to go back to basics a little bit. I'm not going to use FS to crew. I'm not going to use a lot of the add-ons that I've gotten since over the last several years. As you can see, that if you may have noticed, that was 2015. So looking at almost 4 years ago that I flew the first flight. We're just going to use my homemade procedure guide here, and we're just going to kind of go through it old school, I guess. And then once we get rocking and rolling, I'm gonna talk to you about a couple things here over the course of the little over an hour long flight. All right, ground power is on. Arm the emergency lights. Turn the fasten seatbelt chime on. Get the IRSs in super fast alignment mode as it is. And then let's see, I don't have any frequencies that I'm going to set. I'm not connected at all to VATSIM. Obviously the AFV is going on right now, so all the servers are down, and so it's just going to be you and me. But we can go ahead and do a few different things in here right now. Like, we need to get the position programmed, and so you'll forgive me if I've maybe forgotten a few of these flows, because I have been trying to learn how to use FS to crew to help with some of this, and this is part of the procedure that the first officer takes care of quite a bit of it. So hopefully I'll remember all the different components. I did fly something last night, and it didn't go very well. 1185, right? 1185. All right. Delta 1185. Yeah, I had to go rejected takeoff. I had a little bit of an issue on departure, and so that was not good, needless to say. Whoops. Trying to get our current weather here in Denver. Looks like we have, oh my goodness, calm winds. I'm going to lose the audio here for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll depart runway 25. 29 or 9 or 5 is the altimeter. Partly cloudy. Doesn't look like I have anything really to worry about in terms of precipitation or storms or any of that business. So let's see if we can get runway 25 put in there. We have filed. The departure here is the foot for departure. And again, I think I put 25. Yep, that looks good. And then the arrival is the Leahy 5 with the Meeker transition. And I better take a quick look here to see what the weather looks like here at Salt Lake City. Directly out of the west, so I could land, theoretically I could land North Ops today. And let's see, what would that be? I parked kind of in here. That's where I'm heading to, Charlie Gate. So 3-4 right or 3-4 left, either one of those would be good for me. I think we'll take 3-4 left. I think the approach brings us in kind of more along that western edge. So if I do 3-4 left, let me just pull this chart up here so I can see what my transition Fairfield. It's going to kind of be that final approach fix. I'll have that ready to go. All right, so back to business here. So need to find the Leahy 5 for runway 34 left. There's Leahy 5 for runway 34. Meeker transition 34 left. Fairfield. Okay, I think that's what we need right there. Let's check the route here. We'll depart to the west, head north a little bit. Salt Lake City does sit slightly north of Denver, so there was a discontinuity there, but shoots us straight across, and then we turn north. We do have we'll have to kind of make a little bit of a decision here. Almost looks like this arrival is better if you're landing to the north. So we'll probably actually probably vector ourselves here once we get from Leahy. Again, we can kind of do what we want today because there's no air traffic, and really today it's just all about having fun and remembering all the fun things that we did. So if I go direct Leahy, there's Racer, and then we go MTU, Thistle, Spain, Leahy, really just kind of shoots us up to Fairfield. I'll have to make sure that I get my altitude figured out here. Pewter on our way in, Dunlap, flag, and then runway 34 left, and then we have our go around, hold at Staco. Alright, we are ready. Let's continue on. We'll activate that, and let's see. Time to set the fuel. Again, we're just going to kind of wing it here. Need about a third of a tank, somewhere around, I think 16,000 is plenty. So we'll do fuel at a third. That gives us 15,000. We'll put a couple tons in reserve, and then our payload we'll just do random, and decent load there. Cost index of 44. 2 tons of reserve. That gives us a zero fuel weight of 129.3. Our filed altitude, not really filed, but our planned altitude 340, And right now active sky is saying 272, 41. Transition altitude is 18,000. That looks good. We will do flaps, or a derated departure. We will go flaps 5, departure, trim of almost 5. There, that's pretty close. V1, V rotate, V2, so 146. Put that in there. And all right. We don't request a clearance. We don't have a squat code. We will set our altimeter 29905. And that's the end of the first page of our checklist. Come up here, we'll kind of do a little pre-flight flow. Yaw damper, we'll turn the fuel pumps on. We will make sure the window heat comes on, although it's a beautiful day right now. Denver, I mean 70 degrees. Just a beautiful fall day in the Rockies. Packs will go to auto. Actually get a little air conditioning going. Flight altitude again will be 340. Landing altitude in Salt Lake City is 4227. So we'll say 4250. Position light is on. Ignition to the right. And let's see here. Heading on down. Flight directors will come on. Runway heading, and I'm going to just have to look real quickly here at the departure. Oops. Alright. Let's find this foot 4 departure. So we are going to be leaving runway 25, so it'll be a 263 heading, and then we turn up to Mugby, and we're on our way to Kremling. All right, 263. It is a top altitude of 10,000 to Mugby, but then 230 is our overall limit, so we'll have to make sure we don't go through 10,000 by Mugby. And okay, that's in. Auto brake to RTO. Reset the fuel flow, and let's get the APU going. One thing I do notice when I'm using just my homemade, and I'm doing it all myself, my homemade checklist, is it only takes me about 15 minutes to get this thing going from cold and dark, whereas it takes me, you know, at least a half an hour when I'm using FS to Crew, and that's if I don't mess up. So I don't know, maybe there's a lesson to be learned there, but again, part of why we're going without anything today is just to kind of pay tribute to that first initial VATSIM flight some 3.5 years ago. I don't have that huge long history with VATSIM like a lot of the streamers I watch, but it's hard to believe that it was 2015 when I had my first flight, my first filed flight. Alright, there we go. APU's on. We're going to close the door. Light goes out. I don't have the jetway connected. We are going to disconnect the ground and set the parking brake. And I am not even going to request pushback from GSX. I'm just going to do it again old school. Let's make sure we have everything ready to rock and roll here. We are going to be transponder would come to standby. Is that standby? Standby. Packs are going to be turned off just for a moment. Anti-collision light will come on, and then I'm ready to push. So just the good old-fashioned Shift P, and I think I have to go nose right. Let's see if the old Shift P #1 key works. Of course, I did not have any add-on scenery for Denver. I do have the Flight Beam package, and enjoy it. It's nice, fairly frame friendly, even with heavy add-on like the PMDG 737. I did have this. This was definitely one of my first add-ons that that I purchased. It was kind of my introduction to sticker shock. Oh, that's a nice shot. But has been worth every penny, and actually has been one of the things that was one of the few add-ons that didn't transfer over to P3D from FSX, that I went ahead and bought again just because it's been such an awesome airplane. Alright, we're getting close to that yellow line. I think that'll be good enough. Let's park there, set the brakes, and we'll get the engine spooled up here. Number 2 is turning. Oh, you know, one thing I am going to do is this. I am going to turn my sounds up. It's mostly going to be just me yammering on today, unless I have a few guys that jump in and add to the conversation. So at very least, you ought to be able to hear those wonderful engine sounds. Such a great sound pack, and it's showing its age a little bit. I mean, this is not a new add-on by any means, but it has stood the test of time, and it really has set the bar. There's a few aircraft I think out there that have really sort of forced other developers to raise their game, and this is definitely one of those planes. All right. The engine switch to go to cutoff. That sounds good. Now we can turn the APU buses and the APU off. We can start the probe heat, put the packs back on, and turn those off. Put the starter switches actually on continuous, and we're ready to rock and roll. Put the flaps to 5. We will, let's check our flight controls: full right, full left, full back, full forward, rudder right, rudder left. Alright, that all looks good. I got a master caution light here. I don't know why. Oh, I can turn my electric on. That might be it. Probably not the only thing I've forgotten here, but I think for the most part we are running. I can turn TCAS on. I will turn my transponder to TARA. Let's see, weather can come on. The terrain will come on. Auto throttle, LNAV, and looking. I think that's just about all we need here. request taxi. We're not going to do that because we don't have anyone to talk to. And yeah, we'll turn our anti-collision light to strobe, and I think we're ready to go. The brakes did pop off there when I tested the rudder, as is a little bit of a glitch with this bird, but hey, 21 minutes to get this thing started, and that included me kind of showing you the route and all that good stuff. That's not too bad in my book. So we'll head over here, pick up Gulf down to runway 25, and we'll be on our way. Let's enjoy this plane here from the outside as well. So it was not a Delta livery, I don't think. I mean, actually, I don't know that. I just filed whatever this ID down here was. That's what I used. And so I don't remember in FSX which of those PMDG 737s started with India, but that's the one I picked. I'd have to do a little bit of research, but it may have been a Delta livery. I mean, I think I wasn't brand new to VATSIM and filing IFR flight plans and things like that. So I'm guessing I had at least a little bit of an idea of, you know, how to figure out what real world flight went between Denver and Salt Lake City, and hopefully, anyway, I don't know. I can't guarantee that, but this is the one that does fly in between. My route, by the way, I'll pull the route up here later. That's kind of interesting to see all the departures that no longer exist. It'd be interesting also to go back and see if there's any waypoints, like if there's any VORs or any airways that have changed, you know, in the last 3+ years. I will take you through a little bit of my VATSIM flight history, and we'll talk, like I say, about some of the, so I guess about what it's meant to me, and again, how excited I am to see what's just around the corner here, coming up tomorrow, basically, with the new audio for VATSIM. I believe this is our turn. There's no way I'll be able to pull it off with this outside camera view, but yeah, let's give it a try. Not terrible. A little off. Okay, heading down the way here. Just double checking, anti-collision is on strobe, weather radar is on, terrain on the right side is on, auto throttle is armed, LNAV is armed. Okay, landing lights will come on here shortly. 23:30 Zulu. About a half an hour sooner than I normally like to stream, but kind of worked out that way tonight. Since it's a bonus stream, you know, I thought I would just get the ball rolling here instead of waiting. If you're new, if you come across this, you have no idea what goes on here. I mean, it's your typical flight channel, flight sim stream. I like to stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and this is a little bit of a, you know, not a normal plane for me, even though it's a plane I flew a lot. Maybe I have the most hours in this plane, but I have over the years come to grow fond of more of the vintage aircraft. So I do have a 737-200. I also have an L-1011. I have a DC-3 and a DC-8. I spend more time in those planes now than I do really the PMDG. And I also have really started to take a liking to the bush flying, the off-airport stuff. And so that's what you'll normally see on here, but the one thing I do try to do is I just try to keep it the ultimate variety show. So my goal is to never have the same aircraft twice, 2 streams in a row basically, and probably accounts for why you don't ever see a really super great from a pilot standpoint, really great flight. There's always a few mess ups or sometimes catastrophic issues that go on, because when you're only in a plane once every week or two, you have a tendency, especially with something that's as procedure heavy as this plane is, you have a tendency to forget some things. You have a tendency to get a little out of practice, and so that just kind of comes with the channel, I guess. But hopefully, if you like variety, if you like seeing new things, if you like flying vintage planes using vintage navigation, yeah, stop on back by. There we go, Toga. Engines are stable, making good power. Airspeed is alive, 80 knots. 100.
V1. Rotate. V2.
Positive rate of climb. Gear will come up. Flaps to 1. Go ahead and bug up. I'm going to jump into autopilot maybe a little sooner than I normally would. Just again, I want to get a great look around. Make sure that we have plenty of opportunities to look at this plane from the outside. As well as the inside. There we go. We can go LNAV, VNAV. Update the heading bug, and let's take a peek outside here. onward and upward here toward the Rocky Mountains. Just have a look outside here and enjoy this departure. We'll go ahead and bug up. Probably would get our clearance here shortly. So we'll take a hop outside and again enjoy what it looks like from the outside cameras. Alright, we are nearing cruise altitude here. Top of climb just coming into the screen, and so it's about nostalgia. I'm not going to do a lot of talking on this stream, but I'm going to talk about a couple things that I was thinking about as the old audio codec is heading out the door. But man, I tell you what, it was a game changer, and I started kind of getting really back into flight simming probably at about 2013, and I found, I just actually searched for free online flight simulation, and I found this one called Google Earth Flight Sim, GEFS. It's now GEOFS, but it was my way to kind of get back into flight simming, and it was a lot of fun. Really a great community of developers, very kind of raw, and a lot of stuff that was going on that some pretty talented young folks working on, and you know, had a variety of airplane. Of course, they used Google Earth as their world essentially, so even though it was just a browser-based game, they had pretty doggone good graphics, and yeah, so it was just a fun way to kind of get back into things, and that's where I really went from being just a guy that was like an Xbox guy, turn it on and fly around and shoot the bad guys and all that kind of stuff, to a guy that really started to study aviation and flight planning and all that kind of stuff. It was a stepping stone to what I'm able to do now. But the one thing that always was super exciting and kind of missing was the fact that there just wasn't consistent ATC. And I remember weekly we would get together just as a community, and we would organize events, and somebody would be the ground controller, somebody would be tower, and somebody would be departure, and somebody would be center. And then those four guys, after 7 or 8 planes departed, they would jump over to the arrival airport, and they would do the same thing kind of in reverse. It was always a lot of fun. And I remember thinking to myself, man, that's really all this sim needs, is consistent ATC. And eventually that's, I guess, kind of what got me looking around for something else. And so I found FSX. It was a X-Plane 10, I think, was out at the time, or 9 or something like that. And it was the choice between the two of those. I went with FSX because I had already played some different Microsoft flight sims, earlier, and so it felt like a little bit of more of a, I guess, a little bit of a familiar choice. And but that was the thing that really was what I enjoyed probably more than anything, was being able to learn about VATSIM, learn about how you could really, if you planned accordingly, you could have air traffic almost every flight. And man, that was an amazing thing. And again, it just took this hobby to a whole new level. So I just want to, before we get too much further here, top of climb, I just want to say thanks to everybody who has spent time in the development of the VATSIM and the audio in particular. Obviously, if you are one of the guys that's worked on the new codec, thank you, double thank you. But also for all the air traffic guys that have spent all the ATC hours studying and preparing and memorizing departures and arrivals and taxiways and airways and all that stuff. You make this game unlike any other, this world really unlike any other world out there, and it really is the community feel that I think keeps folks coming back. Definitely keeps me coming back. And yeah, so thanks, guys. I appreciate that, guys and gals. I know there's not just all men, but thank you so much for all you brought to the game. And I really am excited to see what the future holds. But enough about me. Let's jump outside again and let's take a peek around. So, something else I thought about as I was planning this flight is to talk a little bit about, the routes that I guess have kind of been my favorite routes, my favorite airports, my favorite aircraft. And again, I'm no expert on any of this, but there's a few places that I have come to really love. And I guess if if you had to pick a route that I enjoy the most, I think it'd have to be that route between San Francisco and Los Angeles. I do thoroughly enjoy that, although I really need to pick up at some point in time a good LAX scenery. It's almost kind of evolved into, instead of San Francisco to Los Angeles, it's become San Francisco to San Diego, because I picked up I think it was Orbix or something for San Diego. But I like that West Coast flying. I do also like the route between Atlanta and Miami, or Atlanta and Boston, when I'm on the East Coast. And so that's kind of, I guess, over the 4+ or 3+ years, that's what I've ended up probably flying more often than not. Favorite overall airport, it's going to be Boston International, Boston Logan. That's just been that airspace in general is just, for me, it just offers everything I'm looking for. It offers diversity in terms of types of airspaces. You know, there's rural, kind of mountainous areas up in the north, and then there's obviously there's some bigger international airports, like Boston and Bradley, but then there's also that coastal area, you know, and you have things like Bar Harbor and Nantucket, and so there's just a little bit of everything out there, and I really enjoy that. But I also really enjoy the ATC, the community out there, the virtual air traffic guys. They are super active in VATSIM, not just in their little area. They're key members of planning the big events, the big VATSIM, or not VATSIM, but oh shoot, it was just down in Orlando this past year. The word escapes me. It's in Vegas this year. Flight Sim Expo. Thank you. Brain fart there. But they really do a lot to promote flight sim, and so I've really enjoyed spending time up there. And that's, if I had a place to go, if you said you had one airspace that you had to fly tomorrow, that's where I would go. And they're on almost all the time. They're always up there for the Iron Mike Award, and so airspace and overall airport, that would be what I would pick. And then favorite airplane, boy, that's a really hard one. I'm gonna say the one I'm sitting in right now, just simply because it's what got me really going in the VATSIM world. I do adore the Cessna 182 Skylane from A to A. I think it's a rock solid airplane, probably the next best in terms of just level of detail and all that stuff, the sim experience as a whole. But this plane here, even though it's pretty advanced for what I like to do, is still sits at the top. I don't get to fly it as much as I used to, and maybe as time goes by, it's going to be the Skylane, or maybe even the Milviz DHC-2 Beaver, which I've spent probably the most time in recently, just doing stuff in the mountains of Idaho, or I just did a stream when I was up at the Pacific Northwest trying to hit all those farm strips and stuff like that. It might end up being the Captain Sim L1011. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in that as I, coming to really love the vintage birds. The Aerosoft DC-8 is another one that's creeping up my ladder here. But right now, this plane, it's tops on my list, and it's the only plane that I have bought for both FSX and P3D. So that should tell you something, because it's not a cheap bird by any means. Okay, time to enjoy again some more of the sights and sounds. Good evening, Al South. MIA. One of our friends of the channel. Yep, I'm in one of the more advanced ones today, and just doing a little tribute here. This is the first plane that I flew and the first route that I flew on VATSIM, going all the way back to June of 2015. And I don't know if it was this livery exactly, but I know it was the PMDG. As you can see, my first several flights were in the PMDG 737 right there, Denver to Salt Lake City. I only made it about 35 minutes before something must have happened, and I had to either restart or had an error or something. But yeah, that's what I am doing right now. And then I'm also just kind of reminiscing a little bit about what's happened in my particular flight sim world. Yep, that's just from if you go to VAT Stats and just log in using your using the same ID number that you use, like if you're logging into vPilot, or I guess XPilot for you guys. It has all that stuff. You can search all the way back and figure out how many hours you've been on and how many flights you've made. I think you can even probably fly or look at how many flights per aircraft. And so yeah, that's just, again, I would show you that website, but it has like a little bit of information that I don't really want out on the here. I can tell you at least what it looks like here. This is the website to go to if you want to check it out and see. And again, I don't have a huge history here. I'm only back to 2015, so some of these guys might be pretty amazing to look back. Yeah, I don't. It's not like they're going to steal my identity or anything, but it's not like stats in VATSIM mean a ton just yet. But yeah, I just don't want anything. I'm a little nervous about right now. The changeover with the AVF and all that. Now, I don't want to mess anything up on my end, but check that out, and I'd be interested to see where you kind of fall. But so the next thing I wanted to talk about is, again, kind of why do a flight like this? Well, you know, I wanted to express my thanks. I've wanted to talk just a little bit about what I enjoy doing, but I guess what I want to also say is just I'm realizing how important this hobby is becoming to me the older I get, and the more that I'm not necessarily able to do the things that I used to like to do for my hobbies, like hunt and fish and do things with my kids, because they're all growing up now and they're moving away, even though one of them is with me right now, but I know that's coming to an end soon. And so, you know, when the knees start to go, it's a little tougher to go chase pheasants and things like that. So this has become a hobby that's pretty important. And you know, for everybody who has worked hard to make this world what it is, I'm very appreciative of that, because I do spend my fair share of time down here sitting in front of my computer. But it's more than just that. It's like running into guys, getting to know guys like Al South MIA, and some of my other friends here that I wouldn't have met otherwise, and just learning from, you know, my whole goal with this channel and with my Discord is to just surround myself with guys that know more than me, and just learn from them. So Al South is saying he doesn't have too much VATSIM time, but that's still kind of interesting to go back, I found. Alright, before I say a whole heck of a lot more, though, I do need to look at the Leahy 5, especially since we are making this Fairfield transition which maybe I should not have. Maybe I should have picked the camp. I'm gonna go take a look at that real quick here. Just see if there's a different transition. Helper. Where is helper at? Nope, that's not going to be the one I want either. I'm coming in for Meeker. Yeah, I'm gonna clear that. I'm just gonna keep Meeker in there. Yeah, as it is. We're just gonna have to do a little finagling here. This is where air traffic would help us out a little bit, but instead of going around here, Fairfield, and kind of up to the north and looping back around for potentially a south ops, we're going to try to come in here and pick up straight in approach. Well, actually, that's where we want to be. So I just need to make sure that I have my altitudes camp, especially and bloop at 11 and 12,000 respectively, and we're going to just take a quick look at that. I might have just screwed things up here too. Oh yeah, so Leahy, go there, just get rid of that discontinuity. That moved my top of descent way up there, which I don't want. There we go. Alright, so again, we want, do I have bloop? I don't have bloop. I have flag. Alright, Fairfield to Pewter. So I'm basically going right into, this is not the best planning in the world, folks. So I'm going from Fairfield, I think, right into my approach, which is really not necessarily the best plan here. Yep, Pewter. So let me just, and here's why, because Fairfield, my altitude restriction is 17,000. I need to be down to 11,000 there for my initial approach fix. So yeah, so it's actually made that adjustment for me right now, which is a good thing. So, oh boy, actually, Leahy, Fairfield, oh boy, this is a mess. I've got a little bit of a repeat here. I gotta plug that in. So I have Leahy, Fairfield, and then it comes back around here to Fairfield. I don't want to go from Fairfield, go right to there. That may really adjust my top of descent. We may be, yeah, it's right there now. So I'm going to spin that guy down to 11,000. Just in anticipation of us beginning our descent here quickly. Yeah, there's the Great Salt Lake. So we are getting close. We also need to, in the meantime, by the way, I need to shut that off. 3-4 left. We need to put all this information here. We are going to go flaps 30 arrival, so we'll put that VREF in. 111.90. Put that in 3 times, or twice, I'm sorry. See it once, see it twice, see it 3 times. 344, our approach heading, our course. Set it once, set it twice. I'm definitely not going to need the auto land today. It's beautiful out. Okay, that looks good. And then our fix rings, SLC, go 10, go 7, go 4, And then the last thing I have to do is I have to set my minimums, which this could take a little while because the minimums are 44.26. Spin that guy up here. All right, talk amongst yourselves. Now, so let me talk just a little bit before we start our descent, because once we start the descent, I'm going to get kind of busy. The last thing that I really want to, I guess, throw out there is what do I think the future for VATSIM is going to look like? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are very nervous that they are opening up maybe the wild west on Unicom, and it's going to just become unmanageable. But I actually don't think that's going to be the case. I think the one thing I've learned in the past almost 3.5 years of VATSIM is that we police each other extremely well, and we hold each other to high standards, because this is more than just a game. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but if you want a first-person action game, you go out and you get an Xbox and play Call of Duty or whatever. If you want a full simulation where you are doing so much more in terms of preparation and studying and attention to procedures and trying to fly, trying to replicate a flight as accurately and exactly as possible. You don't let people screw around, and I think that there are going to be some that maybe do test that a little bit. I think that's just kind of human nature, but I think that the folks that powers that be are they have a plan for that, and I think they're gonna help curb that as quickly as possible. And I think we, just the average Joe flight simmer, we're going to be a huge component to that, because number one, you can either buy into that junk or you can speak up and say, hey, knock it off, that's not what this is about. And so I don't predict that it's going to be a huge problem. In fact, here's what I do predict. I think what you'll see is an increase in GA flight. I think that that right now there's two things kind of holding back GA flight in the flight sim community. One is the development of really good kind of photoreal scenery, and the other is the ability to communicate hands-free like you would, instead of having to type things in to Unicom. And I think that that both of those things are being worked on, and certainly this audio for VATSIM with the ability to just have your Unicom frequency live, and eventually the airport specific frequencies. I think that's going to be it's just really going to encourage folks to learn how to fly GA, and I'm excited for that because I like that type of flying myself. So I guess that's my prediction. I think it's going to be a huge success. It's something that I definitely have been looking forward to since I even first heard about it, and so yeah, there we go. Minimums are set. I'm curious to see though, like Al South, what do you think about it? What do you predict? And maybe I'm being overly optimistic there as I take a big drink of ice water. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Is somebody who's maybe new to VATSIM, and certainly I know you're not new to aviation. We've had enough talks that I know you've spent some time, if I understand correctly, you've spent some time in real life flying, and so. But I do think that there's a lot of people that are hesitant to kind of jump into VATSIM and maybe flight sim in general, just because of the uncertainty of what it's like to talk to air traffic online. So as I did when I first started into VATSIM, I didn't ease my way into it. I jumped into a PMDG study level aircraft, and I filed a flight between 2 international airports, and I just started learning the hard way. Okay, there you go. Didn't do any flight simming. Yeah, gotcha. I knew you had some good experience there, and if you don't know Al South, he's been a very valuable resource and a good friend to this channel, and he's a great guy to. As he builds up his channel, he's going to be one you're going to want to follow as well. Okay. So we're going to see if our duct taped together arrival works. Again, our initial approach fix is pewter. We need to be above 10,000, which, as I look at this, I think we're in line to hit that. We'll be about 213 at Thistle. Keep stepping our way down, I think those look realistic. And our final approach fix is flag. By that time, we're going to be pretty well, just pretty well inbound direct. I mean, straight north. And hopefully we'll be able to make a nice steady approach. Yeah, Salt Lake weather still the same as when we departed, 280 at 10. So it's going to be a crosswind. We do have good visibility. We've got a few at 15,000 broken. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing major. Visual approach probably would be in use, but we will, as always, we will practice the ILS. At least get ourselves established on the localizer. Make sure the glide slope is working. And we'll go from there. The other thing I'm excited about for the future of flight simulation is just the speed at which technology improves things. And you know, I know the big buzz right now is Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. I don't know if that's going to be the next great thing or not, but I've always been a proponent of competition, and I think it's great whether you're an X-Plane guy or a P3D guy or a infinite flight guy or whatever. What's great about it is that there is the other thing, and when you have 2 competing outfits, both of them are going to end up better, faster because of it. And so, you know, I think for X-Plane, this may be the best thing that happens, because I think X-Plane has kind of had a little bit of a swagger to it, like, oh, we do scenery better, and oh, we do flight dynamics better, and oh, we offer more stuff for free, and you know, all this and that. We're cheaper, and we're cooler, and we're hipper, and all this and that. And P3D, all you did is you just took FSX and rebranded it, but it's old technology and all that stuff. Well, now with Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 coming out, it's kind of like now X-Plane is maybe going to feel a little bit like P3D does. And I'm with you, Al. I hope it's not a big teaser, because they tend to have a little bit of a history of not really following through and actually kind of abandoning things. I mean, I think we're all familiar with that, but from what I hear, it sounds like they're very committed to doing things the right way. And I listened to the one talk where the lead developer basically said, look, we're trying to make up for, you know, for past mistakes, and we want to do this right, and we want to do right by the community, and that's why we're coming back to do this. All right, the Barrow in Salt Lake City is actually 29902, so we'll just click that. Getting ready to make our turn, and then as you can see, there's Fairfield, and that should shoot us pretty well straight in over the Great Salt Lake. A little bit of a haze down here. but not too bad. So yeah, I hope, like Al South said, I hope it's not a big deception. I hope they're able to deliver on whatever it is they're promising. But I also hope folks are patient, because you know how things go in the flight sim world. You get a little teaser about something, and it's not always, just right around the corner. So yeah, for the moment, just Al South just continues to download terabyte after terabyte of ortho scenery, just in case. And I'm okay with that too. I'm not one I'm not going to stop buying stuff for P3D. I've talked to Al South several times, and some of my other friends on here. I'm going to buy X-Plane at some point, and I'm going to download terabytes of Fork Boy scenery and all that good stuff too. Because I don't know if or when 2020 is going to come out. I mean, the name sort of insinuates it'll be out, within the next year or so. But who knows? The first version might come out and be all kinds of buggy, and I'm okay with being a little bit patient. Whenever there's a new update, even to P3D, I always like to wait, a month or two, or even more, just to kind of let the early adopters jump on it, find the little bugs, let Lockheed Martin put out a couple of hot fixes, and then you can jump on, and it's amazing how much smoother it is if you just are a little bit patient. And unless you're having major issues, then you don't have really anything to lose. So all right, down we go. Here's the only thing I'm a little worried about. Maybe this little hill is why we were supposed to be at 17,000. But I'm not getting any kind of little bit of a terrain issue, but I think as long as that's in the green, we're going to clear it. So, and we'll turn basically right at this hillside, head on in this little smoggy valley here is where we're going. I'm going to go ahead and spin the altitude down. Again, my final approach fix is 6,100. So put that in there, actually above 6,100. Well, yeah, and Al South, you're absolutely right. Here's the only thing that really truly does intrigue me about X-Plane is the scenery development aspect, because as you and I have talked, and our, you mentioned Downwind Sim, who's another good friend of the channel, and he's doing a lot. I know you and he both are doing a lot of this. We like to fly in the mountains of Idaho, and all those off airport strips up there. For the most part, 99% of them are still just default strips, and so I would really like to get in, and if X-Plane has, which it looks like it does, an easier way to develop scenery, I could see myself really getting into that. And so the only thing stopping me from jumping into X-Plane right now is I just need a little bit more hard drive space, because I have filled it up with P3D stuff, and I need a little bit beefier both CPU and GPU. I'm running a little bit dated stuff, and I've got it pretty well fine-tuned and tweaked here for what I'm running, but I do know that steep descent, drag required. Let's put I get speed brake out here a little bit. We're gonna just add a little bit of speed brake here. So anyway, I just know that from what I've researched anyway, I know that X-Plane requires a little bit more from a little bit faster CPU than what I have, and then obviously the better your graphics card, the better everything is. So those are the next things on my list. And now I thought you said that you had your eyes on like something crazy, like an 8 terabyte external SSD or something like that. Is that still kind of in the cards? Localizer is alive, by the way. We'll wait for glide slope to come in before we arm the approach. There's glide slope. Okay, we're going to go ahead and arm the approach. I've got a 2 terabyte one that I've found that's a pretty good price. It's a Samsung. Again, on my wish list. Alright, steep descent. I hope it's going to be able to make it here. We're on the glide slope. Speed looks pretty good, actually. And that always makes me nervous, but that's not Salt Lake City. So we'll just see. I'm going to toss it out to Mrs. Oh, an internal 8 terabyte. Oh, wow, wow, wow. Holy crap. That's a good buy, man. You and I have to talk about that. That is a better buy. That's almost the price that I am looking at from the 2 terabyte one that I found. I thought I was getting a good buy on the 2 terabyte one. Okay. Alright, below 10,000, we have landing lights on. We have altimeter sets. Anti-ice, we don't need it. And localizer glide slope alive. Speed is being managed pretty well with the speed brake here. Auto brake will set at 2. 3-4 left will be exiting, by the way, making a right-hand turn. Probably somewhere here, Alpha 7 or Alpha 8, taxiing back via Bravo. Bravo to Echo, and then into Terminal 2. And I think we're kind of right in there. Charlie 6, I think, is what we're looking at. Oh, okay. Al South sharing his find right now. That's a great find. I'm going to update my wish list. That'll hold a lot of ortho right there, my friend. My current one right now is a 1 terabyte, which I can still remember. Speaking of reminiscing, I can still remember when that seemed like impossible to fill, and now I'm sitting there looking at like I'm 60% full with just my P3D stuff that I have installed, you know, and I don't have like a ton of scenery even, so it's pretty crazy how fast that can happen. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go full speed brake here. We are a little bit quick. My ref speed is 145. Spin that down. We do have flaps 5 in right now. Need to get down a little bit lower before I can toss the gear out. We're also descending at 1,300 feet, so it is a steep descent. Alright, there we go. Flaps 15, gear down. Yep, we're just in the red just slightly here. Not looking too bad though overall. Start to level out just a little bit. 1,000. Flaps 30. probably fly this guy down to minimums here. With that nice 10 knot crosswind. Alright, that looks pretty close. And we're getting pushed around a little bit here, aren't we? Getting a little bit low. I have to crab a little bit.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Straighten back out. A little bit hard, but not too bad. Center line is okay. There's 80 knots. Manual braking. Looks like I'm going to get the next one here. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Alright, auto brake off. Alpha 7 it is. Okay. I will take that, especially after last night. I was in this plane and I had to have 2 rejected takeoffs. I didn't even make it off the runway. So I can live with that right there. Okay to clean up. Speed brake is up. Flaps are coming up. Turn the landing lights off. Just starting to get to be dusk here in Salt Lake City, but welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have the landing rate deal that that Slant Alpha Adventure has, because that was probably going to be up there like 300 or so. We'll watch though. We will watch. Since we're not on, in fact, I'm just going to stop right here and let's take a peek. Actually, no. We're gonna go ahead and park because I've had trouble with the replay function basically freezing up my sim. So we're gonna go ahead and just make our way to the gate here, and then if it wants to freeze up, it can. So Charlie 6 is where we're going. If I was smart, I would have the GSX follow me guy come out and help us, but I think I know where we're heading. If not, we'll just act like I know where I'm going. Yep, Winter Olympics 2002. Okay, so there's a 7200 RPM one, but a little bit more. Still, 210 is not. That's not a deal breaker. I'm definitely going to take a look. I like Seagate stuff. It's good. I'm slowing down. Why am I slowing down? Do I have auto brake still on? No, I don't know what's going on. Alright, coming up on Bravo. We're going to hang a left on Bravo, and then we will make our way into Charlie Gate. Or excuse me, Charlie Terminal. Charlie 6. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, everybody. And if you're around, you're watching this in replay, and you're still here an hour and a half later, or maybe you fast forwarded just to see if I crashed on departure, which I don't blame you. I just want to let you know that we are going to stream again tomorrow night. I'm going to follow my friend Rob from Slant Alpha Adventures. He is making attempt number 6 into Catalina Island, trying to break the Catalina curse, as it's become known. And we also are going to have Agent Bravo 7, the Empress of Cessna, that's going to be along. Also, we're going to be trying to carve a trail out there to the airport in the clouds, and looking forward to that. And then my normal Wednesday stream, I'm moving back to Thursday because there's an event in the Boston area, and we're going to be flying the vintage 737-200 from Philadelphia to Boston. By the way, for Monday night, we'll be in the Douglas DC-3. I'm not sure what the route is there or where the departure airport is, but we'll be in the DC-3, and then Saturday will be, that's back to our normal time. So next weekend we will be in the Cessna 182 Skylane, and SoCal has an event going on, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's going to give us a chance to practice a little bit more of our phraseology, and just trying to make sure that we understand how to talk at those uncontrolled airfields. So we'll be spending quite a bit of time actually in SoCal. 2 out of the next 3 streams actually will be down there. So hopefully you can join us. All of the flight times generally are midnight Zulu, which is 8 o'clock Eastern time if you're somebody from the States. And we'd love to have you if you want to tag along. It's the flight to Catalina is turning into a little bit of a group flight right now. At least 3 of us are going to be involved in that one. If you have a plane that is kind of in that I don't know, that 140 to 160 knot range for speed, then that would be a good one to have to bring our way. I think I'm down here. Well, you know what? I'm just going to go here. Almost positive this is my turn. So I think I know Rob is going to be in the DC-3 as well, and so that's what I have too. But like if you had I think the Cessna is probably going to be a little too slow, and the Baron is probably going to be a little too fast type of deal. So I don't have anybody here right now because I don't have the gate yet. So I am heading to the right spot. I don't have any GSX because I didn't set that up. That's okay. So if you have the King Air probably is going to be a little quick, but if you want to jump in there though, and if you keep either keep the speed down or just kind of plan accordingly, maybe you hang out and depart 30 minutes after everybody else, then I think that you don't have to fly with the group, you can just be a part of it, or you can be the first guy out, and you can be sitting there waiting for us, and you can be the landing judge. Get yourself a little hot cocoa or something at Catalina, and and then be the guy that gets to just sit there and enjoy. Weather should have been off. All that radar stuff needs to be off. Alright, here we are. Before we shut down, let's set the brakes. We've got to take a look at that landing. I don't know that it was quite as bad as Al Sal thinks it is, but let's find out here. What do we need? 5 minutes probably for taxi? 300 seconds? Nope, that's not even enough. Let's go back to 600 seconds. There we go. That's gonna be whoa, why is the gear coming up? Why is the gear coming up? Okay, this is going to be... Now the Pilatus, that might be... Okay, there we go. Gear down. That actually might be a good... You're right, a good airplane. That might also be a little bit quick if you really let it loose, but I think you could fly that one at about 160 and be okay. But Downwind Sim told me about that. He said basically he described it as basically a flying engine. So yeah, if you're interested, it's the AeroWorks DC-3. I mean, if you want to mess around with that plane, and it's a fun one. It's again, it's all freeware, both for X-Plane and for P3D. But that's what Slant Alpha flies, and if you want to be one of us, oh yeah, so that'd be the one to go with. All right, here we go. Closing in. Here's something else I'm looking forward to when I go to X-Plane is I think the replay deal is a lot nicer. Down, straighten it out. Yeah, it was a little hard. But not terrible. It's a pretty good view. Alright, well, I don't think we need to watch the complete and total replay of us taxiing back in here, so let's get back to the gate. Let's see if we actually have the ability to shut this plane down. We'll have some shutdown music going in the background. I'm going to just go ahead and kind of close things up for the day. So again, I'll see you tomorrow about the same time, and then Thursday and Saturday. Appreciate you swinging by Al South. As always, good to talk to you. I'm going to check out that Seagate and maybe swap out my wish list SSD. So for everybody else, again, thank you anyone who's ever done BatSim air traffic. Thanks anyone who's ever worked on the voice codec. Thanks for anyone who's been a part of making this world what it is. I appreciate it more than you know, and I look forward to looking for every single one of you on the TCast down the road. Take care, everybody, and as always, God bless. We'll see you next time.